Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mr. Benjamin Horowitz. So, you desire to learn more about the Sneeple, eh? What do you mean, no? Yes, you do. That's why you clicked on this video. Now you're going to learn something whether you like it or not, you uncultured swines. Let's just start the video. Cue the music!
Time to learn about a man who always seems to lend a hand despite the obstacles we go through. You might not know his face, but his voice is full of grace,
and we do whatever he wants us to.
He's not like most people, cause he created us, the Sneeple, and he's got lots of magic up his sleeve. He'll never leave us behind. To say he's kind would be the lie of the year. He's a man who loves his work, he does it with a little quirk. He's always there to lend a hand. He's the man with the plans, and will follow through with his demands. Jayden Libran, Jayden, Jayden. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that very campy musical number, and for the record, no, I did not shoot that recently. That was shot about 5 months ago. Anyways, hello, I'm Jayden Libran, the creator of this Fart When Ice channel, as well as these characters, the Sneeple, and I'm also the performer of Lenny, Andre, Sally, Clark, White Rabbit, and a host of other characters. So, let's learn about the Sneeple. And where did it all begin? Well, let's go back about 17 years ago. I was born in the dark mornings of November 20th, 1998, which just so happens to be the day before I shot this video, so happy belated birthday me! Anyways, growing up, I was the rather shy, but creative young fellow, and I discovered the magic of puppetry and the Muppets at a relatively early age. Although I was a very avid fan of Sesame Street in my early years, it was one fateful afternoon that I found the magic of the Muppets by going to Burger King and getting these Happy Meal toys. Yes, so after I found these toys, I looked up the Muppets at my local library when I was about, I think, 4 or 5 years old, and I rented a few cassette tapes of the Muppet movie and the Great Muppet Caper, as well as Muppet Classic Theater. So that was my first exposure to the Muppets, and with those very creative ways of puppetry that I had not been exposed to yet, I kind of thought that they were pretty realistic, and I didn't want to accept the fact a few years later that there were actually puppeteers that were controlling the Muppets. And I'm sure we all remember that dark, fateful day when we found out that the Muppets are indeed puppets. But I was not entirely upset when I found out that they were in fact puppets. I decided to look up exactly how these are made and how they're controlled. And at about 2005, I made my first puppet over here, Frenzel. Frenzel here is really just an abstract lizard-like character, similar to the first Kermit, and I have not used him in any of my videos or any other related production, but I keep him around mainly because he's the first puppet, and as my good friend Samuel Santiago once stated, it's always good to keep your first puppet. So this was indeed my first fabricated puppet, and I'm sure to keep him in storage for years to come. Around the same time I built Frenzel over here, I also built several other characters in the early 2000s, for example, Big Daddy Frog and the Grunch. Now, those aren't quite memorable characters, I'd say, but they are some of my earlier characters, and I still keep them around. Big Daddy, however, has been rebuilt a few years ago, I think 2 years ago, and the Grunch is somewhat maintained his original form. But it was until 2010 when I moved into the official first Sneeple studio, where I built tons of other characters, including the first Lenny here. The original Lenny character, seen here, was not very fun to perform, from both a physical and character standpoint. As you can see, the eyes were basically paper there, and there was a bunch of poor stitching and staples that run throughout his body. But also, from a character standpoint, he was also not a very enjoyable character to both watch and perform in the early months of the channel. Back when I first did the first few videos, he was just there lip-syncing and doing random bits and whatnot. And eventually I added ping pong ball eyes, but they weren't very focused. And afterwards, I switched the placement of the eyes, so they were a bit more focused, but still not very good. And eventually I ditched this puppet in general and built a new Lenny puppet in 2013. And fun fact about that, I actually built the new Lenny puppet midway as I was filming another video. So in one shot, the old Lenny puppet is there, and then in another, it's the new. Backtracking a little bit to 2011 and 12, the early stages of my channel were quite rudimentary. And I say that because the content and the characters were fairly one-way and uninteresting. Most of the videos in my earlier stages from 2011 were lip-sync videos or covers of songs, as well as various Muppet Palisade videos, which I don't like to talk about. Why I did that? Well, the reason why there's so many Muppet Palisade videos is because in 2010, before I made the channel, I shot a bunch of random stuff, and then when I first created the channel, that was all I had on my camera, so I posted that. I should delete those, but I don't know why I haven't. Anyways, it was till 2012 when the content sort of shifted from short sketches to more character-driven plots, and I think it started when the character Andrew Boyka was created, and he was added to the cast, and now it basically centers around them working in a studio. And that's also seen in the Halloween special, which was one of the first times that I took a shot at editing. And later, in 2013, the stories became a lot more grounded, in my opinion. And I think that was the largest period of character growth that I had when you combine the past 2 years. And 2013 had new characters, very one-off characters, such as Mr. DeVille, Caveman, and a lot of other characters. And the plots were much more expanded when compared to the 2011 plots and 2012 videos. The editing and the writing style in the 2013 videos were also still in its very early stages when compared to such works from 2014 to this year. And I say that because in 2013, the editing wasn't on par as to where it is now, and it was very slow, and some of the times you could see the camera shaking or the audio was off at some portions, and it just didn't look good in a sense, and the lighting was also bad. But also from a writing portion, certain videos tended to drag on too long, and the joke was lost. And I think this is most noticeable in the 2013 video, the Thanksgiving murder mystery, which in my opinion is not one of my more favorite videos, and I would redo it at some point in the future, but I don't know when that might be. Finally, after 3 long years, 2014 came along with some of, in my opinion, the best writing style. This year as well has some good ones, but 2014 was very groundbreaking for me. For one, I met Carol Spinney that year, and I also did a number of new videos with lots of new characters and different art styles. For example, the clay animated video, which was well received upon its initial release, And what was great about that one, in my opinion, was that it tried new things and included more cast members for the first time. And as you may have known, as I talked about in another one of my editorials, there was going to be a sequel to that Clay video, but that didn't end up happening due to time constraints. However, 2014 was also a good year writing-wise because there were more songs included. Lots more original tunes, and my favorite happens to be the from 2014 is the new live song as the gang is singing in the bomb shelter about their new lives. But what I think made 2014 a good year was lots of new characters and a great writing style, in my opinion, and it really grounded itself a lot more when compared to the first 3 years. In addition to the much more complex writing style of 2014, lots more characters came out that were quite upscale in both size and personality. One, for example, is Orenthal Dragon here, who's one of my larger characters. And I think part of what makes an interesting and compelling character is the design, but also what you give to it and what you can relate to your character. You know, as seen in some videos, Orenthal can be very melancholy, which sometimes is like myself, but also he can be a wild burst of energy, wishing to accomplish things, and that's also like me. So I think equating your own traits to your character really does you well. Yes! Well, this is quite interesting. Set me down. No, little shack, do you share with me? Love, life, and hope is a travesty. Fair is the air that we all must breathe, so how can hatred thrive?
And now we reach 2015, the current year of video making, where we see that the humor and writing style has not significantly changed from the year before. However, there have been some new innovative steps that has made this year slightly different when compared to the last. For example, new forms of animation are being used, in addition to the claymation style that had been used the year before, but I'm also now doing 3D animations as well as 2D animations, where I serve as both the director and storyboard artist, as well as the voice actor for those. And last but not least, the cast in this year has quite expanded when compared to last year. And it's allowed a lot more diversity, and fun fact, some of the characters that are being voiced are provided by people that don't live in the country. So that's relatively interesting in my opinion. And last but not least, I think that this year has been really good in a technical standpoint, and some of the special effects that are done by my good friend Matthew Liddick have shown that the world that they live in is in fact a semi-believable world, and some of the effects show that they can and will do anything that they want, in a sense. And now to briefly touch base on some of the wonderful cast members that occasionally lend their talents to this series. While I happen to perform somewhere between 10 to 40 characters in each video, occasionally I will get some help from some great cast and crew members that make the video really look and sound great. Let's start off with my good friend from Canada, Alexander Maintia, who happens to run the neighboring channel, The Box of Me. Alex has done the role of Fred, the Siamese brother, in the video The Sneeple in the Cosmos of Clay from 2014, and also did the character Mr. Man from the video Lenny the Lizard vs. Idiotic Trends. And quite recently, in the Halloween special, he voices the very eccentric, rapping Grim Reaper. Also, my friend George Hughes from England does the role of Prince Max from the Clay video of 2014, and regularly does the role of Irving Daly, the London Times news reporter. And my friend Melvin Campbell does the role of Gumby in the Clay animated special, and also does the role of Billy, or Jimmy, I can't remember his name, from the Lenny the Lizard vs. Idiotic Trends video. He also does regularly the role of Jack Beardy, the red-headed hobo. Abby Cluster was one of the first females to join that isn't my sister,
And she joined us earlier this year, voicing the role of Derpina in this animated sequence of Lenny the Lizard vs. Idiotic Trends. And in the subsequent video, she took over the roles of Alexandria Boyka and Autumn in Dr. Clark's opera with the Vampire. In that same video, Katie Dagnan provided her voice as Siri, but also regularly does the role of Annika, the niece of the announcer, in some of the other videos that I've done recently. Alfie Eastwick, another friend from England, did the role of Ted, the Siamese half, in the Claymation special of 2014, and is set to voice an angry gingerbread man character in this year's Christmas special. Along with him, there's my good friend Frank Cesario, who I've known for quite some time. Frank does the voice of the angry Chinese frog, Mr. King Hua, who was recently seen in the Halloween special. Along with him, there's Timothy Rich, who does the voice of several miscellaneous characters, and is set to do some more voices in the future. So far, she has voiced Regina Randolph in the video Dark Knight Russian Returns. My sister Haley has always been an occasional performer since the very beginning, but for the most part she does the roles of Lenny's wife, Delilah, as well as several other female characters from the early years, but nowadays she doesn't quite participate as much. However, every now and then, or every blue moon, she will lend her voice just in time. Matthew Batsell performs the voice of Fergus, the very large and hairy and quite angry beast. And fun fact about Mr. Fergus here is that he's the largest character that I've ever built, and is a full-bodied character, meaning that he's performed with me on the inside. From a technical standpoint, I've also gotten help from my friends Matthew Liddick, who does a majority of the green screen editing here, and does a wonderful job, if I may add. And in addition to the green screening, I've also gotten help from Henson puppeteer Grandpa Choco, as well as Christian Cordes, who edited parts of the Dr. Clark's opera. And the animations are done by my friend Wesley Rushing, who does the 2D and 3D animated segments that I occasionally do, under my direction and with some of the voiceover work that me and the other actors perform. And it all turns out quite nice in the end, if I may add. In addition to those voiceover people, I've also worked with several of my personal favorite YouTube idols. For example, James Kemp recently voiced Kirano Ufusek in the video Dark Knight Russian Returns, and another one of my friends, Mr. Archfiend, voiced himself earlier this year in Lenny the Lizard vs. Idiotic Trends. And in January of this year, Glove and Boots actually spotted me, and promoted the animated sequence that I did with Mario and Fafa over here, in which they were seen in clay animated form. But Jayden, how do you build all your characters? Well, to answer that question, Lenny, how I do it, I don't quite know. Sometimes I rely on patterns, but most times, as you see here, I do not. But when you factor in how long I've been doing this, which has been about 11 or 12 years, plus the amount of ideas that I get for new characters, then when you put 2 and 2 together, then yes, that's how I build my characters. And so, what does the future for Fartwin and the Sneeple characters look like? Well, to be perfectly honest, there is none! I'm just kidding. Well, for the most part, video productivity has in fact gone down this year, mainly in part because I moved over the summer, as you may have noticed, and I'm also going to college relatively soon. So in the next year, I might not do as much videos, but I will in fact try to do as much as I can for the time being. And there are some productions that I am currently working on, but were delayed due to the move this summer, such as The Tale of Sir Peter, which also includes multiple cast members and incredible special effects. So that'll probably be done next year, sometime, I don't know, but I'll still be doing as much as I can on a regular basis. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, and thank you all for watching.
What an astounding achievement! Never have I seen such a remarkable twist before. Bravo!